Wild pitch in the bottom of the ninth allowed Vanderbilt to complete the comeback and eliminate Stanford last night in the College World Series. Vandy now moves on to play NC State on Friday. At 6 p.m., Texas plays Virginia in an elimination game on ESPN2, with the winner moving on to play Mississippi State. Tonight in Major League Baseball, the Pirates play the Cardinals with Carlos Martinez on the mound for St. Louis. The Dodgers look to break their 3-game losing streak when they host the Cubs at Chavez Ravine, and Jose Barrios will be on the bump for Minnesota when they host Cleveland just after 7 p.m. In the NBA, the Atlanta Hawks have taken a 1-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bucks after their 3-point win last night in Milwaukee. Trae Young shot 4 of 13 from beyond the arc, but still exploded for 48 points. Tonight at 8 p.m., the Clippers will be without Kawhi Leonard again in a crucial Game 3 matchup against Phoenix, with the Suns up 2-0. The Indiana Pacers are hiring Rick Carlisle as their head coach. The former Mavs head man will sign a 4-year, $29 million contract with the Pacers. And lastly, in college football news, the Holiday Bowl will now be played at the home of the San Diego Padres, Petco Park, instead of Qualcomm Stadium, which was the old home of the San Diego Chargers. For all your latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here to 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And here we go.
You're in the recruiting hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're the 2 o'clock.
Yes, I am.
Here are your hosts, Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Brought to you by Bubbles and Blocks.
Welcome into the recruiting hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer here on 93.7 The Ticket from 2 to 3, as we often do, Monday through Friday.
Often.
It'll be less often moving forward.
Where are you going?
I'm gone. I'm basically going to be here like 5 or 6 total days in the month of July.
Mm-hmm.
So, if when I return, when I'm actually all the way back, there should be plenty of things to talk about.
Theoretically,
you would think, but we'll worry about that when we get there. All right, Happer.
Okay.
Let's just dive right into all the stuff today. We're doing all the stuff.
What's that mean?
So, I'm just an alert for you to be ready for when I mention the opening splash, which is brought to you by the Pawnee Plunge in Columbus, the best water park in the state, the country, the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
On today's opening splash, I want to discuss a Twitter question that was posed to Andy Staples of The Athletic, and I sent this over to you. So you could look at it as well. But basically, the idea posed to Andy Staples is more or less, if teams were given 2 options, every team in college football is given 2 options. You either get one and exactly one national championship over the next 20 years, or in this scenario, the man talks about a magic wand. You don't wave the wand and whatever happens, happens. So you don't get a guaranteed one, but you could win more than one, theoretically. How many teams in college football should not wave the wand that would give them a guaranteed 1 national championship?
Not that many.
So Andy Staples said 6, and his 6 teams turned out to basically be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson. Those are all the shoe-in obvious ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it gets like a little trickier. And he went Georgia, LSU, and waffle back and forth on Oklahoma. What do you think of those final 3 teams?
I don't get the Georgia thing.
I don't either. And
I never have. I don't get it. I know they recruit at a really high level, and they're one of those teams that falls in the category. Your guy at 24/7 Sports did the blue chip rating,
mm-hmm.
and they're well within the range of that. They can win a national championship. They just haven't. They just haven't.
Right.
So give them one, and I think that's probably a win, right?
I feel like we spend more time talking about Georgia being like a national power than they've ever actually been a national power.
Totally agree.
So, because I'm pretty sure their national championship, and I think they've only won one, came in 1980.
Yeah, it's in the 80s. Yeah.
Which is before basically anyone here except for DP and Tom Stevens that works at this station.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why wouldn't they be one waving the wand? They haven't won a title in 40 years.
Yeah, that's a great question.
But I guess what it comes down to is, given this scenario, which again, someone else crafted, gave to Andy Staples, and I am appropriating as necessary. I don't like, I feel like there's a very clear cut 3, and I don't even know if Georgia's in like the next tier for me necessarily, because it might just be a tier by themselves, which is Oklahoma, and they're just sort of an enigma. And I don't think Georgia would be the second SEC team that I would pick either. I would actually pick Florida. Most people might pick LSU. So I'm sort of just like,
Georgia has been in exactly one national championship game in the last
certainly since the start of the BCS.
In the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've played in like 3 total conference championship games, 3 or 4 in the last decade. So they hover around a little bit. But like, I just don't think that their chances are exponentially better than Florida's. Other than, I mean, they should clean up in the state of Georgia, which is vastly becoming a super state. But guess what? So is Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of curious by the 6. The 6 seems high. Like,
I agree.
Clear cut 3, and then after that, I mean, do we think LSU is going to win 2 titles in the next 20 years? Going forward, not counting the one that they just won, which felt borderline like miraculous.
LSU is one of those programs that I feel like if they get the coach right, then the sky's the limit there.
Yeah,
and I don't know that they have. And even without that, they've still won 3 national championships.
Well, Saban was the right coach.
Saban was
left for the NFL,
but they've won 2 national championships with guys who weren't the right coach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it could happen for them.
I still find myself dumbfounded that 2019 LSU won the national title.
Yeah,
because I don't think their coach is any good, and
I don't either.
I'm not like,
I don't think Les Miles is any good either.
Well, I think Les Miles is better than Ed Orgeron, but like, Les Miles benefited from just wealth of talent that he was able to.
I think LSU fits here.
Yeah,
I would be fine with putting LSU in the not waving the wand category.
What about Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, I don't know.
Yeah,
they're a little less certain to me. I think you might take one.
Yeah,
you might take one if you're Oklahoma.
Yeah, and they obviously won a title in 2000 and 2000. They lost in a national championship game to Florida, to Ohio State, and then they made the college football playoff, but have not advanced out of the first round.
Now, let me give you a couple more so who were the other 3 that he included?
So the 3 that he included were Georgia, LSU, and Oklahoma. Those were the 3 that he included to the obvious 3.
Georgia and Oklahoma, I'm not so sure about because I think as good as they can be, they can only be as good as Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State are right now, and that's at the max, and we haven't really seen that. So I don't know that I would include them in the teams that should feel like they could win more than one national championship over 2 decades. How about give some discussion to Florida? They're an interesting one with the right coach because of the ability to clean up in their state. Like you said, and
I think
there's history there too.
Is a pretty strong fit,
and there's history there too. How about USC? Who, once again, that's a program that hasn't done a lot over the last several years, but with the right coach, obviously can be very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm actually going back to see how many schools have won a national title in the last 20 years. So obviously Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Florida State. So there's 5. Florida's 6. LSU is 7.
You already counted LSU.
Or I already counted LSU. So Florida's 6. USC is 7.
Yeah.
Miami. 8 schools, 20 years. So maybe he's onto something with the 6 number there. Like, that's at least in that sort of range. Though when you just extrapolate it to like the last 10, it's Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU. So 4.
Yeah.
So
I think there's something to be said. It's very difficult to project. I think at this stage of the game, outside of the three real big, power teams right now, which would be Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama. And the reason is, this is something that we've talked about a lot over the last couple of weeks. It just feels like this is a moment for college football where there's a lot of uncertainty coming up. We are likely going to a 12-team playoff. Maybe that happens in a couple of years. Maybe that happens further down the line.
We've never actually discussed, but you're in favor of, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to do any more than just that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. There's the whole, and not that each one of these things shifts the landscape entirely, but all of them together, like it seems like it's kind of brewing up to be a bit of a kind of a storm right now, with NIL, with transfers, it's a one-time transfer rule, with the playoff, with how conferences react to the playoff. Will there be the elimination of divisions to get to your best two teams in the conference championship game? Whatever else happens as TV deals, is there more conference realignment to come? Like, it feels like all of that's on the table in the next 5 years. So I don't know what this thing is going to look like. I doubt that we'll be talking about the sport the way we talk about it now, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. Like,
I think that's fair.
I just doubt that'll be it. So I think it is increasingly hard to project right now. Is that fair?
No, I think that's definitely fair because, as you said, there's a lot of uncertainty as to how things are going to be structured, even what conferences might still exist in, say, 5 years.
Yep.
And then it's also hard to know, and this is, credit to your former co-host here. This was essentially Ryan Tabb's theory, but if you open the door to more teams making the playoffs, theoretically the talent spreads a little bit more because more teams look visible, like they can be contenders.
Yeah, that's the point.
It is currently.
Yeah.
And so with that, it remains, to be seen if that actually has the effect that the theory is, which would then sort of lead you to believe that it should be about 9 to 12 schools could win a national title over a 20-year span. Because you're going to get some double ups. But it's certainly, you're right.
Would you expect
the landscape of college football is going to be dramatically different?
I mean, just blindly, I would expect it to be more. I mean, I would expect there to be more schools to win
more than 12
over 20 years.
Yeah,
I do. And maybe that's wrong, but I know it certainly doesn't look like that right now, given there's about 3. But I think a lot of things will change here. How quick? I don't know, and that's kind of the question. When will we see a tangible effect of this?
Notre Dame didn't get any consideration for you in this question.
Oh, Notre Dame could be one.
They're probably, I feel like Notre Dame and Auburn are schools that are like a rung below sort of where Florida would be at for me, if that makes sense. Like they're very good and you expect them to be involved. I just don't, in this iteration of college football, don't expect them to finish the deal necessarily.
Well,
too much just has to go perfect.
And we're talking about this way, but like, I don't know. I think it's so difficult to project at this point in time that it's harder to agree to that for a lot of teams now, just because of the great unknown kind of, and what happens in the next several years of college football. And that doesn't mean like a school like Nebraska is all of a sudden, this is their window to jump back in and be a power. But I do think there is an opportunity for for schools to, if they get the timing right, get the coach right, all that stuff, to jump in and be, one of those teams that's in the playoff every year.
If you scaled it down to 5 years and I threw at you over under 1.5 teams that aren't Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State to win a national title in 5 years,
under,
you take the under on that.
Yep.
So it's sort of more the expecting the effect further out because of the potential changes.
I think so.
There's something else you mentioned in there that we haven't discussed. And And I am actually curious how people feel about this. And I don't know what the conversation was when I was gone, because it would have came out of the time that I was down in New Orleans. But the elimination of divisions, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm for it. Or I would be for it. I think I've been a geography guy for a long time, and I appreciate that
big geography guy.
But you could still do it, and I think it would for a lot of these schools. I mean, Nebraska, we can obviously use them as an example. We've complained for a long time about Nebraska's draws from the east side of the conference. You just would have the ability to cycle through more teams more often. Not that you would just be void of getting Ohio State, but it's more likely that you will get a lighter schedule and that timing will match up, because that's what it's about for a school like Nebraska. I mean, it was that way for Iowa in 2015. They had the team, they had the momentum, and then the last thing that they had to have was the schedule, and they got it. So, and they couldn't capitalize on it, but they had all the makings of it. So,
and in that same year, Michigan State fits the same bill.
Exactly.
I mean, their one loss pre that title game, or not title game, but pre the playoff was Nebraska, who they were expected to beat. So, you're absolutely right in that regard. I've been pretty out on divisions for a while as it relates to college football, because
I just think you could do the pods, and it looks exactly the same. And Nebraska gets 3 for sure opponents every year. Let's call it Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota, and then you rotate through the rest of them.
Yeah. I just feel like the people make the scheduling more difficult than it needs to be if you don't have these divisions. And I just don't think they add anything, because is there a conference where you feel like there's 2 good divisions? Everything feels like it's imbalanced.
Right.
And maybe you could argue the SEC with the rise of Georgia and Florida, but it still feels pretty heavily skewed.
Well, in the 4 main conferences that we talk about, Pac-12, there is a major power broker at the top in each of them. Right. They have to be in one division.
Right.
So it's Oklahoma in the Big 12, it's Alabama in the SEC.
And it just feels like the depth also falls in that division for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I reached this point probably a few years ago where I was completely out on division. So I hope that gets traction. I don't know if it will. I feel like conferences are still very much married to the conference championship game as we have it right now.
But you get a conference championship game.
You would, and
it would be better theoretically for the conferences.
This is arguably the simplistic way to do it versus getting into what happens if you have a 3-way tie and this team didn't play that team, and etc. Which again, like, to me, you cross those bridges when you get there. Like, you shouldn't let those scenarios deviate you from what I think makes a superior product.
I would agree.
Which is arguably the whole point to begin with.
Yeah.
But we shall see. So like I said, I saw that question. So what were the teams that you feel like are potentially on the cusp of being, that could theoretically win a national title, you think? Based on this sort of exercise,
more than one.
Yeah. Well, so more than one.
The
3.
Yeah, which would be Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State,
and then LSU. I think you put in there.
Yeah, I would put LSU there. That might be it.
So 4 for you then.
It might be it. Because like LSU has been, like I said, we did this whole blue blood exercise a while back. And maybe Miami, although
with the right coach,
although they're down right now, like there are a couple programs out there who have been recession proof.
Miami
basically.
More than Florida State?
Off the top of my head, yes.
Miami more than Florida?
Maybe on that.
I always have a tough time with those 3 because in my head I
really feel like Miami could clean up.
Yeah, I always put Florida first, and Miami's access to the talent down there certainly is a giant part of it, and the history, and then it's cool. Like, of those 3 schools,
super cool.
It's regarded as the cool,
no doubt,
institution of
the
3 of them.
Yeah,
I would assume Florida State is regarded as the least cool, but Georgeville might have something to say about that too with Florida. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Well, it might be a tie. It might just be a 1A, and then
like Miami. And basically one of the trends that we saw was that in order to win a national championship, you have to have a all-time great coach. And that's been true. I mean, so
other than Tommy Tuberville,
who
went on to be a U.S. senator.
There's a few
achieving great things in life.
There's just a few programs that have have broken that trend, and it's like, that's super weird. And some of it is what happens around them during the time. But I would put LSU in that category. They've won a national championship with potentially 2 not historically well thought about coaches. And Miami has done the exact same thing. So yeah, I might put them in there.
USC you were considering putting in there.
Yeah. But it does feel like, I mean, just based on history, USC has won their national championships when they've had an all-time great coach, right? So maybe they would be out, but they're the only school out there that could really own the area, that could really, clean up.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of one of the
basically west of
moments
Texas
that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of isolation that goes into it that you would like to see.
Do you believe in Oregon in that regard?
I do, but not as like a multiple time national champion.
I don't even know that I believe that they will play in a national title game under Mario Cristobal.
I don't know. Jury's out on that one.
Yeah. I think
they could win the Pac-12.
I will say this for them. They aggressively schedule, which is what you sort of have to do in that position.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have to finish off with wins, and that's been sort of the difficult aspect of it.
Is that they play Ohio State again this year,
They do play
right?
Ohio State this year.
Or that is like scheduled back from last
which
year.
Could be, really kind of an interesting game, given that I would imagine it's by week 3 in the season, and then what exactly Ohio State is post.
So I'm pretty sure
Justin
Oregon
Fields.
Was supposed to play both North Dakota State and Ohio State last year, and I was like,
and we got neither of them.
Weirdly super jacked for that, and that just didn't happen.
Well, the North Dakota State game was like the opener.
Yeah.
It was like the first game, so you're going to get to see Trey Lance versus Oregon, and Oregon's defense was still really good, even though they didn't have Justin Herbert anymore last year. So that was like everyone was like, "Oh, this is a game. Trey Lance will make himself a top 5 pick." Turns out he only needed one game. Against
Central Arkansas,
very much not Oregon,
the Trey Lance Bowl.
Yeah, and he still ended up as a number.
Because there was like another top 2 round guy in that game for Central Arkansas, right? It was like basically the Prospect Bowl.
I don't remember.
I can't remember who it was, but I remember reading about that.
Yeah,
that's possible. Somebody said Texas on the text line.
I don't know what to do with Texas.
Texas would need Texas A&M to go away.
Yeah. Texas has been really bad since they lost in the national title game to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're actually one game worse in that span than Nebraska is.
I think they would need Texas A&M to not be there. That's too much power to share.
Yeah.
And maybe even Oklahoma. I think there's one in the region,
Does Tennessee or Texas A&M have a better shot at being a national championship winner, in your opinion? Just picking schools at random, but sort of cross compare in the same conference. You'd even throw Penn State.
I feel much better about Texas A&M as a program
with Jimbo Fisher.
But if Tennessee can hit a run and win the East, they're one game away. Right. So
one game away from being a couple games. Yeah. But I know what you mean.
One game away from the playoff.
Yeah. Essentially, you win the SEC, you're in the playoff.
I mean, actually, in a 12-team format, they would just have to win the East.
Yeah. That's a good point.
They wouldn't really have to do anything else.
If the East doesn't exist, that would be
that changes
things a little bit.
They would still play Alabama every year, though, as they do.
Third Saturday in October or whatever.
Well, isn't that Florida, Georgia?
No.
Oh,
I don't think so.
That's different.
That's between the hedges.
Between the hedges, yeah. Stupid game.
How dare we not know our SEC?
The only reason I know them is from the NCAA football video game.
Yeah, it's the only reason anyone knows anything. Yep. Like the old Oaken bucket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the keg of nails.
The Jeweled Shillelagh.
And the backyard brawl.
Yep.
All of those things. All right. We are
Floyd of Rosedale.
Yeah.
I don't know who these games are between, but whatever.
What a pig.
The pig is Minnesota
and Iowa. Yeah, Floyd of Rosedale.
Yeah. The axe, Paul Bunyan's axe.
Yep. The little brown jug, I think, was Michigan and Minnesota.
Michigan and Minnesota. Super weird game.
The Illini Buck.
Illabuck
was Illinois and
Ohio State. Who had a little fun back and forth, I think, in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, when Juice Williams was involved.
When the juice was loose.
All right. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with Mike Sauter. We'll figure out how his challenges are going, both the turkey sandwich and how many fields he's been on in the month of June. We'll also get his thoughts on a couple different things. I'm going to throw a very difficult question at him right off the bat. as to who he thinks is better between Ben Bramer and Davon Hall and just what he has seen so far this summer. So we'll see how he responds to that. We'll have more questions for Mike Sauter, and it'll get weird because it always does. So he's up next.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Take a look at your backyard. Does it feel like something is missing? You're right. Now is the perfect time to get an above-ground swimming pool from Bonsall Pool and Spa. Above-ground pools require less space than in-ground pools, are temporary structures if you ever choose to move, and are low maintenance. Plus, you'll never have to worry about the kids getting bored in the summertime anymore. Visit BonsallPool.com to schedule a pool service or visit them at 33rd and Highway 2. Bonsall Pool and Spa.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Showers and thunderstorms this morning. By this afternoon, we'll see partly cloudy skies with an afternoon high of around 87. We'll be looking at another chance of thunderstorms this evening into tonight. Possibly some severe weather. We'll be looking at lows dropping down to around 70. Continued chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, and highs back to around 85. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Ambition Electric is your source for quality, reliable electrical work. Joe has been in the business for 20 years and loves helping his community of customers to design visions and spark their dreams to life. With Ambition Electric, what you see is what you get. They honor the price they tell you and never go over budget. Whether they're checking your lights, changing out your service panel, or replacing your receptacles, they'll do the job with attention to detail and no cutting corners and with safe and thorough work. Call Ambition Electric today at 402-217-3415 or go to ambitionelectric.com.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Smoothbrook, Illinois.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohls.com for details.
Mike Schaefer here. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaving changed my life the past few years with their 10-week challenge, and now you can get your life and fitness back on track too. Build muscle, burn fat, and lose weight with the 10-week challenge with orientation on July 10th and the workouts starting July 12th. Their teamwork, accountability, and results keep you going 45 minutes at a time. And if you can't make it to the gym, they have an at-home video component now. Sign up today for the Farrell's 10-week challenge and mention the ticket for a 50% discount at fxblincoln.com.
Get in, get out, and get your hands on a great career. At Southeast Community College, we have more than 50 programs of study to choose from, and our class sizes allow for more personal attention and a comfortable learning environment. Take a tour of our 3 campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, or visit the Career Advising Center if you're not sure where to begin. The fall semester starts August 23rd. Go to southeast.edu/academics to find your next step. SCC, your path to possible.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Joined by Dominic Raiola. His son Dylan is a class of 2024 quarterback. Dylan was here Friday night for a Friday Night Lights camp.
It was very thought out how we planned our trip, and going there after we went to the Clemsons, the Alabamas, the Georgias, I'm glad that he felt that, because you forget how special that place is, and you forget how special that place can be with a little bit of winning.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning.
Mike Schaefer here with 5-star childcare provider Lee Beecher from Bubbles and Blocks. Let's start with what makes Bubbles and Blocks special.
We have 3 beautiful locations in Lincoln that provide the safety, security, and reliability you need while also bringing a family feel to each classroom at every location.
I also hear some congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Yes, we just won the Lincoln Choice Award for Best Daycare and Preschool for the 3rd year in a row.
What should people do if they want to join the Bubbles and Blocks family?
Call to set up a tour to enroll your child today, or you can visit bubblesandblocks.com to apply to join our team.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at the Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the Flow Ride, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer, presented by Bubbles and Blocks. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. Mike Schaefer, Connor Happer, and now on the line, ready to join us as he does every single Thursday, unless we move him to a Wednesday or a Tuesday, sometimes on a Friday. Sometimes he's just here in Lincoln hanging out.
But never Monday.
I think he will be next week. I think we've already discussed this because he loves Lincoln.
Make the shirts.
It is Mike Sauter from NEB Preps. How we doing, Mike?
Doing really well. I think you said that you need to say it a little bit higher pitched voice. I think it goes like, I love Lincoln.
See, I have a problem getting to a higher pitched voice.
You just got to show some more excitement when you say it.
I have a problem showing excitement.
Get into it, man.
You don't love Lincoln?
I love Lincoln.
I don't buy it still.
Well, I
definitely buy it from Sauter, though.
Yeah, definitely.
I do. I like Lincoln. No, for real. Like, I have no.
We know, Mike.
There's no animosity between me and Lincoln.
Well, that's good. You and the city can, you don't have to circle each other like two dogs, just, trying to decide if you're about to throw down. So that's good.
Now I will. There is animosity between me and the people that built the road system in Lincoln, which doesn't make sense. But other than that, we're good.
Yeah, I think that animosity is shared between even the people that live here, and maybe even some of the people that were part of that initial decision many years ago. But nonetheless, so let's get a challenge update. How we doing on both of them?
Today is the 24th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. We're 24 days in on both. Thank you very much.
Nice. Has lunch been a struggle at all? Have you almost thought about buying some peppered turkey?
Actually, yes, it has. It was, I did go to the grocery store last week and I bought peppered turkey for my family and just to have in the meat drawer. And I was home briefly for lunch.
Moment of weakness.
And I almost had a moment of weakness, but I did not. And I went with the pizza rolls instead. So, yeah.
We're very proud of you for choosing pizza rolls over turkey. That's
it's great that it's crazy that he even bought the turkey.
Yeah.
And somehow stayed away from it. That seems impossible to me.
It's just like he tempting himself.
Hey, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm decently competitive. And Shafe, you didn't think I could do it. Now I don't win anything, I don't think, from doing this.
No.
But just the fact that you doubted me, I decided that I wanted to stick it to you for doubting me.
That's fair.
It's like the Michael Jordan of not eating sandwiches.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Nobody else had the turkey.
I didn't eat the turkey. Nobody else ate the turkey.
Now as far as the
did we lose him?
Whatever.
Wait, yeah. Say it again, Mike.
I said now the other challenge, the 30 days on a court field, whatever, that is going actually pretty well. It was really rough on Father's Day, though. I will tell you, I searched. I couldn't find anything. I reached out. Then I had to kind of reach pretty deep, and I did go to a Legion baseball game, but not just any Legion baseball game, which I wouldn't mind, but a JV Legion baseball game.
Wow!
Because there was literally nothing else that I wasn't going to give up the streak for nothing. So I dug pretty deep and found a JV Legion game to go to.
Jeez. Which two teams did you watch?
Scott, it was a tournament at Scott.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just swung out there.
So the obvious follow-up is who stood out?
Yeah, we're going to go that deep on that one. But I was there for
it counts.
Like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I think we'll just stick with that. The JV, that's cool and all, but nah, right?
Well, I know
we don't need a full write up on a JV game.
That's fair. That's fair. I know that you were at Friday Night Lights on Friday. I saw you. I talked to you. We discussed what we were watching, and I have a question that stems out of that. And I know that it's two guys that aren't in the same class, but I want to put you on the spot based on what you've watched this summer. Who do you think is better between Davon Hall and Ben Bramer?
Oh, wow. Two kind of different positions. I would say Ben Bramer doesn't have as many drops or lack of focus times. Now, I think Davon Hall is going to have a huge year. I was at their 7-on-7 stuff again on Wednesday, and he made some really good catches. He's really explosive. Obviously a great athlete. Bramer's probably a little more consistent as far as catching the ball. Davon did have one pretty bad drop on Friday night, but he came right back on the very next rep and made a nice catch on a long, deep throw. But I would say Bramer's probably a tick better right now. Just not athletically. I think Davon's more of, if you look at 40s and verticals and all that, he's probably better. But from just a football player perspective, I think Bramer's probably a tick higher. Not a lot, but a tick.
And obviously this isn't a local kid, but you were at the camp. You saw it. I think everyone sort of the tenor of the camp changed when he trotted out from the tunnel. But what did you think of Dylan Raiola when you got a chance to watch him throwing to the aforementioned Ben Bramer and Davon Hall?
Well, on his second throw, I think it was words that I can't say on live radio, but I can say in a podcast. Holy, stuff after that. He's really good. Like, if Nebraska can somehow land him, which, feels like maybe is in a decent spot for, holy cow. Like, that is like a program changing guy, I think. We're talking about a guy that's probably going to end up being a 5-star quarterback, right?
Yeah, I think so. And you've watched a lot of different quarterbacks. You've gone to different camps. You've seen in-state kids. You've seen out-of-state kids.
Right.
When you watch a guy that is just on a different level. And I'm struggling because I don't want to completely overhype it, but there's no way that I can't because that's how good he was.
Yeah, and not only was he good, the confidence he has, that it wasn't like a super cocky, confidence. It was like, I'm the dude. For a 14, 15-year-old? 15-year-old, I think. Yeah, for a 15-year-old to have the confidence in that setting with, all the people around and coaches and fans watching and all that, he was really confident, carried himself really, really, really well, I thought. So I was very impressed, and I think if he ends up in Lincoln, and I wouldn't even say didn't steal one. That's not the term, but they'll be whoever lands him. If it's an assistant in Lincoln, they deserve a raise immediately, like without a question.
And there was another quarterback thrown that night, not Daniel Kalen, but another in-state quarterback thrown that night who not near the same level as Raiola, but also looked pretty good in his own right throwing to those guys. And I know that you guys are co-presidents of the fan club, so I want to give about 30 seconds or as much time really as you want for you to both gush about Noah Walters.
Yeah, he's the best quarterback in the state.
Wow.
I think him or Zane Flores for me, I think are probably the best quarterback in the state. And I think it's probably, in the senior class, he's for sure the best quarterback. But overall, it's those two, and I don't know if their discussion goes past those two. If it does, it kind of, there's notches below the next two guys. But I love Noah Walters' just makeup, his confidence. He's not scared of a moment. One, he's gonna put up a ton of numbers too. But I think he's really, really good, and I think he should have a huge senior year. And if Carter Glenn doesn't get hurt last year, they probably last a little longer, go a little longer, deeper run in the playoffs.
Hey, speaking of a guy who is not scared of the moment, that's another one. I was thinking about that, Sauter, last night, watching Trae Young, a guy who's never been in this big of a moment, and he doesn't care. Like he's walking in there. He doesn't matter how tall he is or anything like that. He's like, I'm the dude. When you're watching recruits, like how easy is that to prospects? How easy is that to see in a young kid, and can you project that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's pretty easy to pick out if a kid's timid or not, or isn't. The couple of key things you look for is like, are they in the front of the line?
Mm-hmm.
Are they like high-fiving even kids in their own position group? If Noah was with Raiola, like he'd make a throw and Noah would be like, oh, not like fist bump, little handshake stuff, small high five, have a comment. That's a pretty confident kid because he knows he's competing. He knows he's competing, but at the same time, he's not like scared to, deliver positive kind of vibes to other people and kind of felt real comfortable. You can tell if a kid's comfortable or not if they're, if they're not comfortable, they're sitting back and just kind of watching and a little like timid when it's their turn or not like saying, hey, I'm the dude, let me go next, my turn, versus just waiting in line. Like there's a difference between those two. And it's kind of easy to pick out if you're paying attention to all of it. I mean, I do that with basketball sometimes. There's a kid that I wanted to see this morning that I hadn't seen play before that has some hype and some talk and stuff like that. So I just sat there and I watched the kid for 5 straight minutes, whether it was on the bench or not, literally 5 straight minutes. I couldn't care where the ball was on the court. I just was observing him, how he interacted with teammates, how he was as a teammate when he wasn't in the game, how he ran up and down the floor. Did he hustle? Did he get back? Did he not? All of those sort of things matter. Those little things really, really make a difference. And you can pick them out if you're, not just casually observing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're actually observing, you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Last thing for you here. He was at the camp on Saturday, the Pipeline camp. I know you've written about him recently. Feels like another one of these 2023 names to know. Sam Sledge, is this a guy that you anticipate is going to end up with some Power 5 offers by the time it's all said and done?
I think he should. Talk about a confident guy. I mean, I think he's pretty confident. He was playing defensive line, which I thought was interesting. I thought I I think he is an interior lineman, offensive guard at the collegiate level, and I think at a pretty high level. He's obviously well coached. His dad is his coach, and people that know history of Husker football know how good his dad was as a player. But his dad is as good, if not better, as a coach. He's getting coached really well, and he's got some explosion and all that. He's not the tallest guy, like he's not 6'6", but he's also not 5'11", which matters. And he's technical, and his combine number stuff is pretty good. So I think he is for sure a guy that people should definitely see as a power level kind of guy. I compare a little bit. I think Shafe, you and I were talking kind of an Ethan Piper, but maybe not. He's not as tall. If Ethan Piper can play, and this is not a knock on Ethan, then Sam Sledge can definitely play at that level too. That's my opinion.
All right, Mike Sauter from NEB Preps. You can catch him next week. I think it'll be like Tuesday, right? You're going to be rolling, sitting in for the show, a full Mike Sauter experience. We will we'll throw it open to questions. We'll get comments from the people. That'll be enjoyable. We'll catch you then, Mike. Thanks for your time as always.
Yep, bye.
Mike Sauter, NEB Preps. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will finish up the show. I will ask Happer a question. He is going to dwell on it, and you will learn it when we return.
You're listening to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting back out and hitting different restaurants, hitting different places, and I could not be more excited to get back to Bearshin in Benson, one of the best beer gardens around. The weather's starting to get good, and coinciding with that, they are going back to their full food menu. We're talking the burgers, the Johnny Hammer Pants sandwich, the pretzels, the fries, the salads, if you're one of those people. They got all of it. And they are now open Tuesday through Sunday. That allows you to get over to Bearshin, check out the food, the beer, hang out in the beer garden. You can get that $7 Big Cheese Double Wagyu burger special on Tuesdays. Also, happy hour, 3 to 6, Tuesday through Friday. Don't miss it. Plus, if you're a soccer fan, it's the place to be in Benson.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air's motto is our family serving yours. That starts with how we hire. We go through an extensive interview process to really get to know you and show you who we are. We want to help you build a great career, be challenged, have fun, and bring home an excellent weekly paycheck. We offer competitive wages with benefits, including a day off for your birthday. Apply to be a part of the John Henry's family at jhlincoln.com. That's jhlincoln.com.
John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Get in, get out, and get your hands on a great career. At Southeast Community College, we have more than 50 programs of study to choose from, and our class sizes allow for more personal attention and a comfortable learning environment. Take a tour of our 3 campuses in Beatrice, Lincoln, or Milford, or visit the Career Advising Center if you're not sure where to begin. The fall semester starts August 23rd. Go to southeast.edu/academics to find your next step. SCC, your path to possible.
Baseball is back, Lincoln. Let's celebrate safely. We're excited to celebrate the 20th season of Salt Dogs Baseball and welcome fans back to Haymarket Park in accordance with local health measures. Fans can enjoy the same festive, fun, family environment the Salt Dogs have always offered Lincoln, with peace of mind. We're working with the health department and local officials to keep our stadium safe and sanitary. Learn more about how we're bringing fans back safely for our celebration season at saltdogs.com.
Take a look at your backyard. Does it feel like something is missing? You're right. Now is the perfect time to get an above-ground swimming pool from Bonsall Pool and Spa. Above-ground pools require less space than in-ground pools, are temporary structures if you ever choose to move, and are low maintenance. Plus, you'll never have to worry about the kids getting bored in the summertime anymore. Visit BonsallPool.com to schedule a pool service or visit them at 33rd and Highway 2. Bonsall Pool and Spa.
Summertime is here and the temperature is rising. Beat the heat at Pawnee Plunge Water Park in Columbus all summer long. Pawnee Plunge features a full day of fun for the whole family, including the Flow Ride, the only one in Nebraska, a large swimming pool, diving boards, a lazy river, climbing wall, and of course, massive water slides. It's a great place for parties or a great spot to lounge around all day long. Book your party by calling 402-562-4269. Come splash and play the Pawnee Plunge Way in Columbus from May 31st through August 8th.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Smoothbrook, Illinois.
When everything is changing, you need a store that's a constant. A store that has the brands your family loves and the value that you need. A store where you can stock up, pick up, and drive up. A store that's close to home and feels like home. A store that puts the health and safety of you and your family above all else. And a store that's always here to help. At Kohl's, we don't know what next year will look like. We just know that we'll be here for you no matter what. Kohl's, here today, here to stay. See store or Kohls.com for details.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Showers and thunderstorms this morning. By this afternoon, we'll see partly cloudy skies with an afternoon high of around 87. We'll be looking at another chance of thunderstorms this evening into tonight. Possibly some severe weather. We'll be looking at lows dropping down to around 70. Continued chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, and highs back to around 85. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to the Recruiting Hour with Mike Schaefer and Connor Happer. Presented by Bubbles and Blocks. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Hour. One final time here on a Thursday. We will be back with you on Friday as well. The drive is up next. You're going to have Happer. You're going to have Ravi. You're going to have all sorts of Thursday fun. Mm-hmm. Thirsty Thursday, I'm assuming.
That is correct.
Text bag.
Yes.
The Thursday shows are, they're wild around here. You really never know what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like people should tune in. They should listen.
I agree, Mike. That's a good sell.
A hard sell right there. People should listen. All right. I said before we went to break that I had a question for Happer. I told him what it was during the break. He stewed over it a little bit. He claims he is now ready as he could be.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead and give me the question, and then I'll explain why I hemmed and hawed.
Here's the question. Nebraska has, I always have to check, seven commitments right now. And I asked Happer to cut that down, give me the top 3 in Nebraska's class as he sees it. And Happer says
it's difficult.
It is difficult.
They do have 7 people in the class. But it does feel like each of them are kind of, early, I guess, in their development. Like and this, you could say the same thing at this time every year. They haven't played their senior years of football yet. So I guess we'll kind of see how all this works. And I have been exposed to 2 of them more than anybody else.
Right. By virtue of seeing them play in person.
Yeah. And they're both on my list. They're both in the top 3. Ernest Hausman and Jake Applegate are both on there. And then I think the third guy is Richard Torres. Richie.
I think we have a similar sort of thought process here. I think for me, and I'm just going based off of film, and obviously I've seen Hausman and Applegate in person, but just off of the film that I've watched, I would probably go Victor Jones Jr. 1. And some of it is, I think, weighed against some of the reports I've heard from their Florida guys that have seen him in camp, and they just think Nebraska stole a kid out of Florida right now. So that's why he would probably be 1 for me. And then I would actually go Ashton Hayes based on how I assume Nebraska will use him in a non-traditional running back manner. You watch some of his film, and it's easy to kind of see why Nebraska would have so much interest in a guy that can do some different things and can be a special teams player for him on top of all of that. And then I also went Richard Torres third as well. Nebraska really likes Richard Torres. I know his recruiting ranking says one thing. In terms of the guys that I feel like they've recruited, going back to Luke McCaffrey. So McCaffrey, Smothers, Harburg, Torres. I just get the sense that there is maybe more specific excitement about Torres than and they like the other one. Don't get me wrong on this.
I think out of those four, he's the most polished.
From the passing standpoint, absolutely.
Yeah.
And well, actually, all of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
as a quarterback.
Because the other three were all fairly raw. And to be honest, Smothers or Harburg would be more polished. Like McCaffrey was the least polished because he'd only played 1 year.
McCaffrey was no polished.
And he wasn't even the starting quarterback the year that Nebraska got a commitment from him. It wasn't until his senior year. And that was because there was another Power 5 guy in front of him. But so I agree with that. And I don't know if that is a sign of where Nebraska wants to take the offense at some point.
Well, I think there's been more of an emphasis on the ability to accurately throw the football, distribute the football.
And the thing I love with Torres is he keeps his eyes downfield when the pocket is abysmal, which most of his highlights featured the pocket being abysmal.
Almost all of it.
Yeah.
He's running for his life a lot.
Yeah. So those are my three. Hausman Applegate are probably 4 or 5, and then Page is 6. The gap between Page and Victor Jones Jr. isn't enormous. Like, it's very clumpy, I guess, is sort of how I would describe this class.
Yeah, you could give me any 3 and I'd be like, oh, okay, sure, I could say that.
The one that I probably have the least feel for, and again partly based off conversations with people who feel like he could end up as an offensive lineman, is probably Chase Androff at this point. But the rest of them, I can more visualize how they fit and what exactly Nebraska wants from them than I probably can from Chase Androff. But Nebraska obviously really likes him because they've told every other tight end, see ya. So they've completely stopped recruiting the position. Austin Terry commits to Boise State. Gabe Burkle committed to Iowa State here recently. So Nebraska has just moved on entirely from tight end. So they obviously must really like Chase Androff for a specific reason.
I'm super excited to see what it's like for the 2 Nebraska kids who get to play their whole senior year as Nebraska commits.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of interesting. That hasn't happened.
Do they play each other?
I haven't looked.
They didn't last year in the regular season. They did in the playoffs. That's who Columbus lost to in the second round.
Oh yeah, because when Columbus came down the first time, they played some other Lincoln school. Because I saw Columbus
North Star,
twice.
Northeast, and Pius, I think, last year.
I had 2 Columbus games last year.
Yeah.
I don't think I had 3.
They didn't play East. They didn't play Southeast. They didn't play Southwest. I think it was North Star, Pius, and Northeast. They lost to North Star and they beat the other 2.
I don't know. Are the schedules even out? I probably should look at
I think it's the exact same as last year, but you flip the home and away.
Oh.
That's the
Is it really?
Yeah. That's generally what they do because they keep their.
But there was kind of a mess with the whole COVID thing too, because teams were making up games and stuff. So I'll look. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that they drew their district or whatever, and that's a 2-year set, and then it flips to the
and we're not in year 2 of it.
Well, last year could have been year 2 because I feel like Columbus's district was the same, but I might have it wrong. Maybe you play 3 years in it, but I thought the schedules were already basically out.
It does not say on Lincoln Southeast website that they play Columbus this year.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that could be our kickoff classic. We can make that an exhibition game.
Yeah.
Get Coach Catula and Coach Williams
fired up.
Get them on the horn. Get them to agree.
Gunner's going to have a pretty big recruitment coming up too. So
yes, he is. Yes, he is. So that will be something to keep an eye on as well. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Finish out the week. The drive is next. Stick around. Let Happer and Robbie get you into your evening.